Hi, I'm Twila.
And I'm Natalie.
And this is Twila and Natalie.
We're going to chat with you about the joys and the pitfalls of being a grown woman.
Indeed, we are. Every week when we do this show, we pose a question. Usually it's something that we're experiencing in our own real life or something that we're curious about. Mm-hmm. And then we try to connect it to our personal experience. And hopefully the discussion will have more of a wider appeal and speak to a more universal part of the topic. Mm-hmm. So today I feel like it's timely. I just newly minted real teenager in my house, and I have another one coming down the pike in like 6 months. So, the question is, how do you pick your battles?
You know, this is so broad.
Yes,
and
it is.
I think we'll start off with talking about in our household.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, in our household, how we pick our battles.
I'm just taking notes because you have older children than me.
Mm-hmm. I've been at the parenting thing for almost 27 years.
Yep, I just crossed the finish line of 14. So I feel like just when I thought I had accomplished something, I looked at the puberty road and went, I need help. Signal flare.
So 5 kids, 27 to age 10 are mine.
Ooh.
2 stepkids, 3 my bios, as I like to call them.
Uh-huh.
And that has probably been my biggest thing as a parent that I have learned is you have to pick your battles. If you go after every little thing, you're going to stress yourself out and you're going to go crazy. And how I tend to pick my battles is I try to think about it in terms of in an emergency room. And you have people coming in, one guy is shot, another guy is stabbed, somebody just stubbed their toe, someone has a fishing hook stuck in their cheek, whatever it is. You have to work on being able to triage and know the difference between a gunshot to the head and a stubbed toe.
I like how you are equating our children's adolescence to an emergency room and gunshots. I feel like,
but it's a good fit.
I feel like it's accurate.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you have to know the difference. You cannot treat every offense the same. You can't. You stub your toe. All right. Well, I hope you feel better. Move on.
See, I think the problem with my household is I probably do treat every offense like it's the same. It's all punishable by death. And I can't.
And Twila, it is a total practice skill. It's an exercise in patience. It's an exercise in acceptance. Because there are things, and here's the other caveat. Each child is different. So they're not.
They're not. Each child is not different. They're all my children. They're all just a part of this family.
They are, but each has their own strengths and each has their own weaknesses. And for some,
which I used to exploit against the others when I need leverage.
And when you're working on a weakness to turn it into a strength, a lot of that involves, that's where the patience and the acceptance comes in.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you let them get away with something necessarily, but again, you're gonna pick your battles. I also, some of the best advice I was given years ago had to do when we were training our dog, and the trainer said you have to train one thing at a time. You can't train, sit, lay down, and all these other things at one time.
Yeah, you have to practice.
You train one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. And I found that works really well with kids, too.
Listen, obedience training for dogs totally works well for kids.
Yeah,
and I don't care. And I don't, don't send me emails. Don't send me letters. Uh-huh. But I know very specifically that I taught my kids very specific skills as toddlers.
Yep.
Based on like how dogs are trained to sit and stay in a corner.
Yeah.
And, and obey things. Everything was simple commands. Everything was one-word commands.
That's right.
And the only problem now is that they have vocabulary and they can talk back. So, telling my child to sit and obey as a 14-year-old doesn't work as well as when he was 2.
Yeah. And you learn the difference between discipline and punishment. Discipline is not necessarily punishment.
You know what, though? That's a very large distinction to make in terms of when you're having to sort of choose battles with your children. Yeah. Because there is, there's the discipline in our house a lot of times is about the methodology that we've used, where the line is, understanding where the line is, understanding, how to, where you can stretch or not stretch that line, in terms of how we respect each other in the household and the rules that we've set. And punishment really and truly serves as, a last resort. Like for us, discipline a lot of times for us is sitting down and having that discussion about whatever it is we're struggling with. Punishment is, we've had that discussion. You understood.
But you did it anyway.
Yeah, you crossed that line anyway. When you willfully, I always tell people there's a difference between being willfully ignorant, and ignorant. Like I said, we talked about this. You knew, and you still did it.
Yeah.
Okay, well now I'm punishing you. That's it.
Yeah, then there's a consequence.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But there needs to be, it's that, are we talking about not keeping a room picked up versus they just stole something from a store?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I say there's a set of, we kind of have a set of things that we say we've taught our children in terms of being good human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And those are, we have them, they're actually our life rules. I have them written down. They were posted to the wall for a long time in our house. And they were everything from, tell the truth, that the golden rule in our house is we always tell the truth. So, whether you lied about taking a piece of candy or you lied about you brushed your teeth or you lied about where you were today, they're all the same offense because lying in our house is an absolute no-go. And you don't get punished. You don't just get punished for the lie. You get punished for telling the lie and knowing that we're going to find out what's going to happen. Yeah. So I always tell them it's kind of a double down when you lie because you get punished for the lie and then you get punished because I had to do work to get to the lie.
Yeah. And that what you said about when you sit down and you have the discussion with them, let's say it's, brushing your teeth, bedtime routine, you need to brush your teeth before you go to bed. And you have kids who think they can just wet their mouths or wet the toothbrushing. It's like they've been doing this for a million years.
We've seen every have you seen my new favorite is trying to pour, they don't even want to put the mouthwash in their mouth. So they try to pour the mouthwash on the toothbrush. But they're not even smart enough to do it over the sink. So then there's mouthwash dribbling down the back of the commode because they weren't smart enough to cover all their tracks. I'm like, yo, that's a lot of work. Why don't you just brush?
Yeah. It's faster to actually brush.
Yeah.
But when you sit down and, your first step is explain, well, here's what's going to happen. You're not going to brush your teeth. You're going to get cavities and a dentist is going to take a drill. This is when I like to pull up a video on YouTube. The most horrific possible dental scenario, like a meth head getting dental work done.
Oh my gosh.
And show my children this and go, this is your future if you don't brush every day.
So I always like to equate it with the money that they're gonna it has to get diverted to one thing instead of another. So I'm like, okay, so it costs $300 to fill that cavity, right? And they're like, yeah. So your camp costs $300.
Oh, yeah. See, and that's another good one. I like that method as well.
Let's choose. You want to go to camp or you want to get these cavities filled?
Yeah, and you're putting, and I think we empower our children when we put the ball in their court. Even though we know we're going to make them do what we want them to do.
Yeah, they still got to do it. We want to
have... But they need to choose.
Well, and I like the idea that somewhere in there, I hope I'm helping them build a muscle of, being able to make sound decisions on their own or have their own common sense kick in and make the right decision.
And think through a consequence.
But I'll be honest, if nothing else, I want them to have some sort of deep-seated thought, like the same one I still have as a 43-year-old, which is, if I do this, would my mother and father kill me? Yeah. The answer is yes. I honestly will probably still not do it.
Yep. There's still a healthy amount. If you can't instill common sense in your children, instill enough fear that they will do what is the right thing because they're afraid of you.
Yeah, I want my kids to think I'm at least just this side of the line of crazy. Yeah, I'm not crazy, but I got the potential to go there.
And let them know that you're going to find out. It's also a great teachable moment when they do something. I really reward, like I think you do too, honesty. If they do something they know is wrong and they come clean about it, especially of their own volition, where I'm not getting it out of them.
Yep.
Then we really are going to have a conversation. A very calm conversation where lean towards, well, what do you think you need to do to make this right? What happened? Because they know it was wrong. And when they come clean, it's like they're asking for help. Yeah. This is what I did. I want to make it right. And then you set the pace, you set the bar, and you've made it safe for them to come to you.
Yeah, that's important. I always say sometimes if it's something that is troublesome in the house, but it's not like life-threatening, like somebody broke a glass in the kitchen and they didn't say, you know, whatever. I'll say, listen, I'm putting it out here right now. I just want to know what happened to it. No punishment. Yeah. If you tell me what happened right now, you got to own up to it now.
But if I have to go check the surveillance video.
Yeah. Then everybody, or I always tell them, if nobody fesses up and y'all know who did it and nobody came forward, then it's in for a penny, in for a pound. Everybody's getting punished.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and usually that's enough to get somebody to go, okay, I'm sorry, it was me.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, listen, I'm not mad. That's dangerous and it's glass or whatever. I need you to tell me so we can make sure things are okay.
Yeah,
I want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I always try to be really calm about that. Because it's hard, we are solidly at the age where kids break expensive things.
Yeah,
and you're like, but those headphones cost, but that was my iPhone.
That's right. And the more patience is it's such a muscle. You have to exercise it. You have to make it stronger. You have to work it out.
Yes, you do.
But it is also the best tool when it comes to picking your battles with your children, because if you overkill something early on and you ground them for 2 months.
Oh, so you've met my husband, who has told them to pick your clothes up off the floor. You should clean your room. And then the one day that he happens to come in and our artsy child has destroyed the space because she's designing an outfit. And then he walks in and he's so mad that he can't see the floor. That's like, no TV for 2 months. I'm like, oh, wait. You're not punishing her. You're punishing us because she spends her time with us. And then we can't watch TV for 2 months. I said, do you realize 2 months is a long time?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we took 2 months away from the boy for like breaking a large object, you took 2 months away for not picking up socks.
That's like crash the car on purpose kind of, or
sometimes we need a measured system.
Exactly. And so in my book, picking your battles is being able to triage and know the difference between a crisis and something that's really not that big a deal.
I really like the idea of you comparing it to like knowing how to triage a situation. I'm going to use that because my husband works in medicine. He might actually respond.
He'll get it and you have to make often it is a split decision that you have to make quickly, because in that moment you got to check yourself if your emotions are coming into gear, coming into play. The worst thing you can do right off the bat, and I'm guilty of it. When my kids were younger. That's why my children who are now adult children think I'm just an amazing stepmom to my other younger stepkids, because, I learned so much in raising those kids.
Right. Now you got a skill set.
Yelling gets you nowhere. It does just the opposite. They flip out so much more if you sit there and you quietly.
But I like yelling.
Explain something. But you can do it sternly, and when they got to lean in because you're not even talking loud, and they know like you mean business.
No, see, that's when my kids know that like the atomic bomb is about to go off. If I'm yelling, that's usually like, okay, she's mad, but we'll get past this. If my voice drops, usually it happens like this. We're somewhere in public, they're really clowning, and at some point I have to lean in and go, if I have to say one more word to you, and like my tone drops, and it's like, okay, then I'm in you're all in trouble. Like they know that, like I'm a loud person naturally. Mm-hmm. So my default is louder. Yeah. Not quieter. So that's always a little bit of a challenge, anyway, as far as dealing with them. But you had a good sort of segue in there as far as me, asking about my husband and using that analogy with him. Mm-hmm. So how do you pick your battles with your significant other?
It's the same way.
No, it isn't.
It is, no, Twila. Think about it. I'll give you an example. The other day, the boys were in our room, and I said, hey, guys, I need to change. So why don't you guys go upstairs? I shut the bedroom door. I'm changing my clothes. While I'm changing, I'm half undressed. Tony opens the door, leaves it open, and walks out to go out a different door. And I'm like, hey, can you, shut the door, please? I'm changing.
Yeah, you're like, hello.
He forgot. He just wasn't thinking.
Yeah, he just went through. It's his house. He's just like,
because our boys know that, when the door's open, they're welcome to come in. But if the door is ever shut, they need to knock.
Right.
And so, and because, often I'm in there changing. I live with 3 guys.
Right.
3 boys, 2 boys and a man. And they know that. But it's, I didn't flip out at him and go, oh my God,
See, I feel like it's completely opposite, because I'm with my children. I understand that the power dynamic is that I am above them in power. So I'm always mindful when we're having these interactions that I'm not only an authority figure, but I'm an adult. I'm an intimidating figure to them. So I think about that a lot when I'm dealing with my children. So do you mean
you think about it in terms of you're then going to kind of curb that and not overkill?
I try to be mindful of the fact that, children are always vulnerable. So even when I'm angry and I'm yelling at them, I try to catch myself in the middle of that. And sometimes I tell my kids, you know what? I'm too mad right now. Yeah, there's going to be a punishment, but you should go and let me kind of calm down and let me gather my thoughts, or or if I'm really mad, I'll go, listen, you need to get out of my sight right now. I'll deal with you in a bit, but you need to go.
And that is perfect.
But I always recognize that there's that there isn't, that we're not on equal footing.
Yeah.
Now,
very true.
My husband and I are on equal footing.
Yeah.
Which automatically means if there's a conflict, I am now I'm now trying to position myself for dominance.
But see, that's so you, Twila.
I know.
I mean, that is just your, who you are, and I could see that. And your husband is strong-willed as well.
Yeah, we're both two alphas. So
how does that work for you?
Not well. It is a constant. I always say, like, we joke a lot because my husband always says he doesn't want to live to be a super old man. He has like a number in his head that he's good with, and I always say, well, I'll tell my second husband all about you.
Yeah.
And I have said repeatedly, the second husband needs to be like super milquetoast, like the most like Marion the librarian person I could ever meet, because I have never had the experience of being with somebody that isn't as strong-willed and hard-headed as me. So I said, when we go, we don't like it big or small. When we go, we go. Like it took years for me to not like my immediate response, like my physical response to an argument. Other people's is like to get anxious and to get upset and not.
Yeah.
My physical response to an argument is just like, oh, are we doing this? Really? And I'm always like, hold on. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm so excited. Like I would just, like my default is I'm ready at all times.
Yeah, you're ready to rumble.
Yeah, I'm always, and that is problematic because we are both the same kind of person. We don't want to give ground.
Yeah.
So whether we're fighting over, like our very first fight we ever had was over dishes, like where we put the dishes in the cabinet in an apartment. And I called my mother in tears because we fought for hours over this. And my mom was like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, do you know where he put the dishes? And she's like, who cares? And I was like, I do. She goes, girl, then just wait till he leaves and move him where you want to move him. He's not going to move him back. And here's the problem. Any other man would not move him back.
No.
My husband would let me do it, get mad that I've done it, not talk to me because I'm not talking to him. Well, wait till I go to bed and then move him back where he wants him. And it would go on and on and on.
But see, that's why this isn't working. This is why I'm telling you. Patience.
No.
And triage.
Okay, well, here's
not really a big deal. No, it's that whole acceptance.
But remember what happens. That what happened to me at 40 was I had this strange epiphany that I wanted more peace in my life.
Yes.
So we've been practicing under this new dynamic of, and the thing is, I can't even say it's patience. I could really just tell you this. I just don't give a damn. Because now the things that I would fight over because I just wanted to have like my say or wanted to be equally thought of in the consideration of it. Now I am picking my battles, and the battles I'm picking are only the big ones. So
but don't you think that then so that maybe let's take the dishes example again.
Yeah.
That your ability to accept, okay, this is where he wants the dishes. This is a thing, I can live with that. Fine.
Yeah, now I don't even care.
Yeah.
But the problem is now I'm freaking him out.
Because you're not fighting,
right? Because I'm I've always been one to be I'm the things I'm particular about. I'm particular about the things he was particular about. He was So and it kind of worked out in our house because it kind of split down the middle. Like you're pickier about the kitchen, I'm pickier about the bathroom.
So you can give each other those things. Again, that's part of that acceptance.
Yeah, but we would give it to each other begrudgingly. It wasn't. It really and truly. It was like, is that how you? Okay, well you're gonna do the towels like that anyway. So fine, we'll do that. It was like that. And now it's kind of like, baby, you're going to fold those towels? Who cares? Just take them out of the basket. Like I have turned into, I now have like hippie logic most of the time. Where I'm like, okay, and I'll say this, when it's something big and we have to really discuss it or agree on it, we can still be stubborn. But I've learned, and this is not something I want everybody to emulate because I'll be honest, it feels it's still too manipulative for my taste, but it works. I have to give it enough space. I have to give it enough space and enough conditioning that he thinks it was his idea to do it.
Well, that's
whatever it is.
That's not a bad idea. And you know my mom's saying, I've told this one before, it's a smart wife or the smart female knows that the husband or the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck, and she knows how to turn the head. Yeah,
that's me now. That's totally me now. And before I used to, I think that idea of that used to bother me because I was I told you I'm super self-possessed and super independent. And I mean, even until we got married, my husband and I split expenses to the penny down the middle.
I know, anal.
That's who we were. And that's really who I am. Yeah. So for me, the idea of manipulating you to get to the solution. But
Twila is not manipulating. To me, manipulation is, well, if you don't do it, then, manipulation is more blackmail.
Yeah.
What this is, Twila, this is marketing. This is PR and marketing. He may not think that folding the towels a certain way is his idea. you are showing him, how he benefits from this. You're selling him on it. It's PR and marketing. And when you do it in a way that's not coming at somebody, guns blazing, it happens to us as consumers all the time.
Okay, you're so cute because that presupposes that I'm actually trying to sell him the idea when I'm not. I've just decided that this has to happen, and here's how I'm going to get him to do it.
Yes, but it's the same thing. It's it's the right or the better way to do something.
Yeah, but I don't do it. See, I went to school for psychology and sociology, so I will fully admit that I employ all of those things when I really want something to happen.
But you call it manipulation. I call it marketing.
No, see, I like but see, even what you're doing, I like the idea of it being marketing because you're trying to convince them that this is the better way to do it. I'm not even doing that. When it's something I really want,
you're shoving it. You're pushing it at him.
But I'm doing it by I'm doing it by manipulating the circumstance. So like when he says, should we take the kids to Disney? My first thing is going to be no. You know why? Because his default is to disagree with me. So if I say, no, I don't want to go to Disneyland, he'll go, why not? I think, and mind you, he didn't either. But as soon as I say, I don't want to do it, then it's like, wait, what are you doing? So then we'll go back and forth and he'll say, I think we should take him. I'm like, I don't know why you want to do that. And then I'll just leave it. When it comes up again, then he'll say, well, I don't know if we should take him to Disney or not. And I'll go, well, listen, you're going to do what you want to do. I'll go with whatever you want. But if you're going to do it, you should probably do it while they're young and they can still enjoy it. Right? Knowing full well in my head, I've planned the trip to Disney. I'm just waiting for
you already booked the tickets.
Yeah. Then by the third time it comes up, because we are researchers. We are we don't make quick decisions in our family. Yeah. We think things through. So by the third time it comes up, he'll say, I think it'd be a good idea to do Disney. I just don't want to do it. It's too big of an undertaking to do ourselves.
Yeah.
By then I've already planted the seed of, I don't want to go. So now of course you want to go. I'm okay with whatever you decide.
But you really want to go if I'm tracking.
Yes, I want to go. Yeah. And then, like I said, but by the second exchange, I have now said, it's whatever you decide.
Yeah.
I will go along with. And by the third, when you say you want to do it, but it feels overwhelming, I've already got the resource. Oh, here's the travel agent that my friends all used. Yeah. She's great. Then we went to Disney.
How he operates.
Right. Then we went to Disney. Now, mind you, I know full well this is manipulative. I know full well this is not okay. And I know.
But let's talk about that. If it's him working through his process, that his natural thing is going to be disagree. So you both want the same thing.
No, we don't, because he didn't want to go.
He didn't want to go, but he brought up wanting to go to Disneyland.
He didn't want to go, but
as an idea.
There are benchmarks that he thinks are applicable to our children because we wanted to give them an experience we didn't have. But they're the opposite.
So he didn't want to go.
He really didn't want to go.
I guess that is kind of manipulative. That's not what I'm talking about.
No, see, I'm fully admitting that I sometimes travel in this manipulative space where I convince you that this was your idea to do it. And then I just sit back and dust my nails off and go, okay, well, at least I got that done. Yeah. I'll fully admit that. And I will fully, because I know, because we're both alphas, that there is never going to be a point at which the two of us together on opposing sides are going to get this done. Yeah. It's not going to happen this way. And so sometimes I make it look like I'm taking the default, because the default position means you're getting your way. Yeah. But your way is really my way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just how it has to be.
What if you're both that way and you're both that way? I'm more laid back, where I can go either way on so many things that I really do pick my battles on it.
Right.
And when I am very firm on something that I really need, I'm just very clear about it. I'll give you an example. I don't like the kids on our bed. Any kids, even my grown children, when they come over, I don't want them sitting on my bed. And our bedroom is a large living area, so we often congregate down there because we're going outside and want to be by the lake, and we can get out that way. And I'm like, hey, go sit on the couch, please.
Not on your bed.
I don't want them sitting on my bed.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't like kids in the bed, on the bed. Never did. Even when my kids were little, did not want them in the bed. Now, I'm not a monster. Of course, there were times, that they were there, but I don't like it. And I had to be clear about that, because the kids weren't sleeping with us. These are my stepkids. Mm-hmm. But, would come and lay in the bed. And I finally just told Tony, I got to tell you, and I'm not saying that I am right in this, but it stirs something up in me. I've never liked my children in my bed. For me, it's a sanctuary. This is my space. I have no other space in the house.
Right.
I don't even have my own room.
Right.
I don't have my own bathroom. I think it might be different actually if that were the case. But this is my bed. This is our bed. We should be the only two people in it. Just give me that. You know?
Well, but I like that you're so, and I'll say this about you from the time that I've known you and knowing that your past experience, you are very, very clear about things that you need when they feel like fundamentals to you as a person. Like I'm pretty open about, like I said, the funny part is I'm laid back until I'm not. I really am. Like I'm laid back about almost everything. I'm pretty neutral about like where we go, what we eat, who's hanging around, whatever. And then if something trips my trigger, then I'm like, you know what? And here's the line, and we're not crossing it, and you need to go. Like I get very specific about certain things.
Well, you're good about protecting your boundaries. I think
my boundaries are very, my boundaries are always, like I told you, I'm always pushing somebody back off the plate.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm that way too, but I'll go about it in a different way. You know
what though? You're super thoughtful about making it clear why you need what you need. Yeah. For me, it's not even about needing something. You don't actually know what I need. I just don't want you. You just gotta go. Yeah. Like I'm like the junkyard dog. Yeah. Like I don't care what's in the junkyard that you need. Mm-hmm. If there's the fence, and if you cross the fence, I'm coming for you. That's it. Like we're not going to talk about my feelings. We're not going to talk about, my emotions. We're not going to talk about my comfort level. Here's what we're going to say. You got to go. Yeah. And that's usually all I do. And mind you, that probably helps. I mean, it helps me on one level to be comfortable with me as, what I protect with such a wide perimeter because I know that I have like a big, giant, soft heart, and I know I am a big empathetic person. Sure. So I try not to, I keep that guardrail up really well so that people aren't crossing it. That takes away from what I need in reserve to be able to give to the people I love. Yeah. So, but that makes a lot of sense. But you've been fantastic. Like from the very first time I met you, I think one of the first times I met you, we had to go on an outing together, and you needed to make it really clear to me that you're not comfortable at spaces where there were a lot of people. Like it made you
big crowds.
Yeah, it made you uncomfortable. Yeah. But you were very clear about why. You were very clear about how it works, and you were very clear about what you needed in terms of like, hey, if we're here together, can you help me do this? Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. I was like, just stand behind me, little cub. Nobody's coming. Trust me, nobody's coming to talk to me. Don't worry. But you were always very, very good about that. And even I don't even handle things like that very well necessarily. Like I told you, I'm the passive aggressive, like, text message person. Like somebody will be getting on my nerves, and I will while they're talking, I will pull out my phone. I have done this at so many dinner tables where the conversation got awkward, or it's now in the space. It is now got in the space where I'm uncomfortable with what's going on, and I will text another person at the table like, "What is this? Can we go? If I kick you under the table, can you fake an injury and we can leave?" Like I do that kind of thing constantly. So
yeah, no, I think I find that it helps other people to understand, and then I just don't look as weird, or strange, or something gets misunderstood. It kind of like cuts through it a little bit, quicker. I do the same thing, and I've gotten so much better at that. Even there was a time where walking into Home Depot would freak me out.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, like I had anxiety about it, and I would go to Home Depot with Tony, and I'd be holding on to him.
Well, we'll tell the stories of another time. But like I remember the first couple of times with your social anxiety, you did a little medicating for that social anxiety.
That's right.
And I knew I looked really cute, but I found out I was real cute when she got nervous and slapped my butt a couple of times.
Well, that was my alcohol-induced, adding to my social anxiety.
I remember thinking, it's going to be real interesting working with you. Yeah. And then my other friend came up to us at the thing and said, did she just slap you? Yeah.
And I was like,
I said, yes. But we were heading to the restroom, and I think she was just trying to make sure I was going the right way. It's okay.
Which, isn't that funny? I would switch to the total opposite. And that's a fact. When I had that in big crowds, drinking some wine would kind of calm me down a bit, but then it would lead to ridiculous behavior like that, which is why today I do not drink anymore.
That's okay. We don't really get to go to many social functions anymore anyway. So. We've already been disinvited to most of this.
Yeah, that's right. People are ghosting us.
No, you know what? That actually brings us to another sort of part of this discussion of how you, how do you pick your battles? Do you pick battles with strangers?
I do, if it involves, the way that what I get very black and white about, where I'm not going to explain to you my feelings, I'm not going to explain to you why. touch me, touch my man, touch my kids.
I agree with that.
Physically,
no, I
touch
agree
any
with
of
that.
us.
Yeah, I'm done.
And it's over. Like my earrings are coming off. You're going to get a shoe in the face.
Amen,
I
sister.
mean, it's just, we're on. It's
Amen,
done.
sister.
You know?
Listen, you're never going to hear me disagree about that.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple stories.
Well, and thankfully, though, there's been a rare occasion where that's actually happened. And it did happen where we were at I think it was a fundraiser for a charity. And this drunk woman did grab my man's butt. And the people I was with thought I saw. I didn't. I saw her being inappropriate, getting too close to him. Mm-hmm. But, that happens sometimes. He's a good looking man. And he's, we're secure in our relationship. I was right there. Next thing I know, people are trying to rush me out. Tony's like, we got to go. We got to go. Let's go. Time to go. Let's go. And I'm like, did I do something? Like, what happened? And we had friends there. And he's like, we're leaving them. They're not coming right now. We're going. And one of my best friends was with us. She goes, yeah, let's go. I'm thinking, God, is there a bomb threat I don't know about? What's happening? They didn't tell me till they got me home. They wouldn't even tell me in the car that this woman had grabbed his butt. Because they know had I seen it, that heifer's face would have been face down in the table.
Yeah, you were going back.
I would have been going back.
Listen, I've brushed a handful of women off the plate. I don't have any problem doing that.
One, it's, and again, it's rare and it's unfortunate because this is an individual who is super intoxicated. It does not make it okay.
Right.
If you get sloppy like that in public, you need to be staying home.
Oh, no, I'm with you. Listen, you said the exact thing, which is if you touch me, you touch my man, you touch my kids, it's on. That's it. There is no and I teach my children all the time, and I'm going to get emails. I teach my children the fighting is not the way and physical violence is not the answer.
Yeah.
I always say you got enough $15 words in your vocabulary, you should be able to get out of a situation before they even realize that they've been insulted or that you've left.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, if somebody starts something, you finish it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always been my thing, which is don't put your hands on me. We'll never have a problem. But if you put your hands on me, I guess we're all going to jail.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going down without going down swinging. So I remember my son, my 3-year-old at the time, was at the Mall of America, and it was like one of those little like crank machines, like you put the pennies in.
And then it smashes
yeah,
it.
And it smashes it into like a shape. So he was excited, and he was like toddling along, and he was adorable, and a little head full of curls. And he got a little bit ahead of me, but I could see him. And there was a mom with 2 older kids, and they were trying to put the pennies in and make something. Now, if you've ever seen those handles are giant, and they're hard to crank. You can't crank them on your own. An adult has to do it. Mm-hmm. So my son went to reach up for the crank after they put the money in.
Because he's 3?
Right. Yeah. He didn't know any better. Well, the mom reached out like really fast and grabbed my son by the wrist and had my son by the wrist. And I mean, I'm sure she thought I was the voice of God because she couldn't see me, but because I was far. But I said as loud as I could, I said, you got 2 choices. You let go of that boy or you deal with me. And then, all of a sudden I saw her hand pop away. She turned around, she saw me. Mm-hmm. And I'm quite sure I didn't look like the friendliest black lady you've ever seen. And she grabbed her kids and she took off. They didn't even make the pennies. They left. And I was like, listen, I just, and I had a split second like later when I was thinking about it, like, did I handle that correctly? And I've always said the same thing. Of course I did.
Yeah.
He was a baby. Mm-hmm. There was nothing in that circumstance that would tell you that my child was a threat to you.
No, and even if he cranked the penny, fine, I'll give you another penny.
Right.
Here's the $1. Right. No one's getting hurt by this.
Right. I'm like, that is a child. And as an adult, you should have already known that there's a line you don't cross. Now, we all know as parents that there is a line. As adults, we all know we don't touch other people's children. We just don't.
Yeah. And that's a good example of her not picking her battles. Like, right. You're really going to physically handle a 3-year-old over a penny.
Right. And I was like, well, that's just how, sorry. And I'll be honest, sometimes I used to get into these things in public before I had children. I would happily get myself into a couple of, like I would insert myself into situations. And especially if I felt like, like the underdog. My mom always taught me, you don't let the underdog get beaten. You know, if you see something going on and it's mismatched, you help, and we were always
stand up for somebody.
Yeah. In our house, we were taught that if one of our siblings got into a fight and we didn't help intervene or try, And we got home, my mom's beating us all up because you don't let one of us go down swinging. Everybody better go down swinging. If she comes home with ripped clothes, your clothes better be ripped, your glasses better be broke. You better have tried your best. So in the world, when I see that, I'm always, I would always just sort of insert myself kind of, and I'll be honest, kind of carelessly, like not thinking that a situation could go wrong.
But it's different, like you said, when you have children, you have other people to think about.
Well, and now I do that. Now I have to, my husband actually had to come and say to me, listen, I love that you do that. I love that you champion for people, but you have kids now, so you have to think about that when you put yourself in a situation.
Yeah. Do you think that, as women, one thing I noticed about myself, and it's really been more recently that I've been more firm. I've never liked it, but I've always just kind of accepted it. And I find recently I'm very blunt about it. Say you're at an event, and I've had this happen where I'm standing in line. I was standing, getting a drink, of course, because that's what I did. And I would have a guy behind me, like pushing his crotch up against me. It's not crowded enough for that to happen. And if it did, like you might accidentally bump your shoulder.
Like he actually did it? Like you knew it was purposeful?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you didn't kick him in the balls?
No, I did. Well, no, I didn't kick him in the balls.
Oh.
But I'm like, hey, back it off. But what was interesting to me about this is I realized for a long time, which I'm making this sound like this happened to me all the time. I'm at the grocery store. Some guy pushed his crotch up against me. But it happens. And I would just like do an eye roll, back at him and then just kind of go on about my business.
Yeah.
But now I feel so much more. I don't know what it is but I really feel strongly, no. Yeah, that's not okay. And I call him out on it. You are not allowed to touch me.
But you know where that comes from. When we were younger, and even like we're seeing it now with young women now, there is a physical power dynamic. There is a difference between my size and the average guy that's coming at me, that's saying something to me, and it's intimidating. I mean, it can be threatening. I mean, I remember, going out on dates, and I like now reflecting on it now that my kids are old enough to date, I would put myself in positions as, an 18-year-old, 130-pound girl in a car with like a 6-foot, 250-pound guy that I just met, that I barely know, that I don't know hardly anything about him. And if, something went sideways, I was in real trouble. This is before cell phones. I had a quarter stuck in my shoe.
Yeah.
That was my escape route.
Yeah. And we were raised to be, to be polite, to be nice.
To not. And the thing
we don't want to be rude, especially as women. Right. We don't want to be rude.
And there's that whole, we don't want to be rude, and we've taught to be polite. And and within that, there becomes a second, like, I'm now afraid that if I upset you, what's going to happen? And we do have to think about that all of the time now.
Because it's not usually a physical fight that we're going to win.
Yeah. And to be honest, is it now that I'm the age that I'm at? Yeah, I routinely am like, you don't want to do it.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point, Twila, too, with our kids. My oldest is now 27. And when I think she was in her early 20s, actually maybe like 19, 20. And she went on a date, and she told me about it later. And she said the guy was getting really aggressive, that they went to a park or something. And she said to me, I was telling him no, but I didn't want to be rude.
Right.
And she's explaining
our
it to
default.
me. And
this guy was about that.
I'm listening to her talk, and I'm like, he crossed a line.
Yeah.
This became assault.
Yep.
She was saying no. He didn't. She stopped him.
Right.
But that's not okay. And we had a whole conversation in that moment of, I said, you have every right to be rude and to say no when it comes to somebody putting their hands on you. You say that it's not okay. But it took me another 7 years for myself for that to kick in. Isn't that funny? For my kids, I'm like, you don't, and my girls especially, you never have to accept someone touching you. You don't want to be touched.
You know what? I've been teaching I have one boy and 2 girls, and we've been teaching them really based on this and some experiences that I know of people I love have had.
Yeah.
That when it comes to your physical safety, if you don't feel comfortable, I always tell them there are no rules anymore. So whether it's some stranger at the park that's trying to get you to come with them, or somebody trying to pull you into a car, or somebody that that is just being too much, whether it's a boy or a girl or whatever. I said there are no rules. If they try to put their hands on you and you're not comfortable and they're not responding to your words, they will respond to your fists. Go for it.
Yeah, and you can say too, even when you. I was thinking about some situations where it's just, like the guy, think about if your daughter, when she's older and and a guy's coming at her inappropriately in a group setting, too much, it's brushed off as, oh, it's just guys being guys. Or if you've ever been, I've been at, like a brewery, of course. That's what I did. Walking through a crowd and there are some, not the majority, there are guys who take that opportunity to think they can touch you, grab you, put their bodies up against you.
Oh yeah, the whole like, why aren't you smiling? Or hey, why aren't you doing? It's like, no, I don't.
It's like,
listen,
don't touch me.
Yeah, you don't get to have any control over anything that I do, and your perception of whatever the situation is different than my perception. And sometimes if those guys are being really the most, and to be honest, I'll tell you, I don't have any problem going at you if I know my bat's in my car and I'm standing next to my car.
Yeah,
because we'll just go. But I've told people a couple of times when they've been a little out of pocket, like, hey, would you be okay with somebody talking to your mom like this?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, what's that got to do with it? I go, well, I'm somebody's mother, and you're talking to me crazy right now. How would you feel if somebody was talking to your mama like this today?
Yeah.
And they might not like it, but but I always catch that moment in their head where they stop and think.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't have to listen. We're going to be friends after this. You can call me a snooty, whatever you want to call me after the fact or behind my back. I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah.
But in that moment, you're going to stop and think.
And
that
they do
moment,
stop.
Yeah,
it stops the behavior.
And sometimes I need to just stop the behavior.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I've done far too many of being polite. In the
and then just, guys are being guys or whatever. They're drunk.
Yeah, like where you're talking about my skirt, or you're talking about my chest, or you're talking about how good I'd look under you, or whatever gross thing you've decided you want to say today. That's great. I hope I feel like you're not going to have a lot of success with that, but you're certainly not going to have any success with me doing that. But that is all a part of that whole, like, if you're picking your battles, sometimes it's a matter of safety.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking to I have a sister that's getting back out into the dating scene, and we're of an age together. And we have all these rules for her that never apply to us.
Yeah.
Like we said,
because you learn.
First date, public place,
Yeah.
daylight, lots of people. Set an end time. No matter how nice the date is going, you leave at that end time.
Yeah.
Make a second date. You decide if there's a second date, not him, you. And then we were very like boom, 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 boom. And she's like, "Do I need to like?"
You're probably freaking her out.
Well, and after she went on the first date, she was kind of like, "Okay, I get what you were saying," and I actually felt more comfortable because this, and this were in place. And I was like, you know how many first dates I had that were super sketchy, where I caught the bus somewhere and met this guy and was in his car and was way on the other side of town from my house and had no access to a phone, and like I had a date I was really uncomfortable with, and I snuck off to the bathroom and used my quarter to call my friends and told my friends to come pick me up in a car.
Yeah.
And I waited for them. Like we were sitting by the windows and I was waiting for them, and I ditched him. I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. He's like, you go to the bathroom again? And I was like, yeah, I just, and then I left.
You should, with your sister, if you don't already, too. There's like, if she has an iPhone, you could do the Find My Friend.
Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah, so you know where she is.
Yeah, we were not playing. Like we were not playing.
But your sister's got to be freaked out. I'm back in the dating world again, and apparently everyone's a killer or a rapist.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, she's like, why are we? Well,
that poor girl's not going to enjoy herself at all.
Yeah, well, we still have to do the dating episode because the whole adventure is like hilarious right now. But that is something to think about, like in terms of like confronting. If you're picking your battles, it's different when there's a dynamic of somebody that when it's somebody you do have to be mindful of your safety. You have to be mindful of the people around you and what kind of sort of things can get set off by a chain of of events of you starting something. Because I'll be honest, sometimes I start something, my poor husband has to be the one to help finish it. If some guy gets mouthy with me, I'll have a problem getting mouthy back because he doesn't know I'm strong like an ox and I'm going for him. But if he starts something, my husband's not gonna stand there and be like, "Oh, she's got it." My husband's gonna pop in and be like, "You want to go?" Now there's two of us. And that's like, and then I'm always like, baby, protect your hands. You do surgery, that's, that was, that's a default. Like even, and I'll be honest, even now with my kids, now that my kids are older, my kids have inherited that from me. My kids don't let other people, they don't let bad things happen to other kids at school or other things that they see. And if,
which is a good thing, but they're dealing with it more using their verbal skills.
Yeah, which I'm trying desperately to teach them. Like,
you might have whipped out a bat.
Yeah, use your words first. Don't put yourself in the middle unless you absolutely have to.
Today there's assault charges. It's a whole different world we live in.
Yeah, everything's zero tolerance. And you know what though? But I'll be honest. I told my kids, even with the zero tolerance, if you were
You're
defending
yourself. Exactly.
I told them, if you're defending yourself, if you're genuinely defending another person, not just jumping in because your friend started something stupid, but somebody's, something's happening to somebody. I said, you might get suspended from school, but to be honest, that's a blip compared to the rest of your life. I will never punish you for doing the right thing, ever. You'll never have to worry about that from me.
Yep, and it's picking those battles.
Now, mind you, I have one kid that's just like me, so I think she's just waiting for a chance to go. I think she just keeps like the boxing tape in her bag. Like, my mama said I could go if I really needed to go. So.
Yeah, there's a difference between someone cutting in line versus a man putting his hands on you.
Amen.
And that is what I think when we talk about picking our battles, whether it's in your household, with your significant other or out in public, is just, again, my advice is always use that triage mentality. Where does this fall in the grand scheme of things? And I've learned, I feel like I'm becoming more like you later, in my 40s, in that I'm picking my battles, but I'm more comfortable with being more assertive with, no, that's not okay. Yeah. You cannot do that. You cannot touch me.
You know what you're comfortable with.
Yeah,
and you're
and
willing
I can
to stand up
it.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really trying to calm down.
Yeah, cut in front of me at Target. I may not say anything. I'm just going to follow you out to your car and key the back when you're getting in.
I'll public shame you. I will. That's when you do nonsense like that. I'll be like, okay, children, remember what we said about when it's rude to do things?
Twila will take out her phone, start Facebook living it. This lady just cut in front of me here at Target today.
Yeah, that's me. That is. I'm not even gonna lie. That is totally me. And so if you see it, if you hear my voice on the tape, you just be like, oh, she really did it. Because Twila doesn't just get riled up easily, but she's going.
I have a really quick confession. Mm-hmm. Something I did years ago and I stopped doing it. But at the time, it was really bothering me. When you're in the store and people are not looking at a list on their phone, they are obviously texting or scrolling the internet.
Yeah.
Because I make lists on my phone and I have to look at it to see where I'm at on my list.
Right.
I hate when people do that and push their cart because then they bang into you.
I feel attacked.
Oh my gosh, you were not one of those. Well, here's what I did. I was at Target and I was recording on my phone because I knew I would run into somebody. And there was a woman doing that, texting and not watching where she was going. So I hit her with my cart but made her think she did it because she wasn't watching where she was going. So I'm like, ow. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh, I get it. You could see you're on your phone.
See, look at you. Well, I feel like that's the best way for us to make sure we're wrapping up the discussion. So we should double check.
Yes.
Did we answer the question? How do you pick your battles?
Triage.
Listen, I'm not even going to disagree with you today.
Yeah.
I actually think that's really, really smart.
Yeah. Every offense is not the same.
Yeah, I'm going to have a t-shirt that just says triage on the front so I can remember these things. Now we want to know what you think. As always, when we have these discussions, we always want to know how you took the discussion. If you have questions, if you disagree with us, if you agree with us, if your own experiences, go to the Facebook page, go to Matriarch Digital Media and like the page if you haven't. Mm-hmm. If you have, there's a little send message icon on the side. Just click on that button. You can send us a direct email. Hashtag it Twila and Natalie so we know you're talking to us. And just let us know your thoughts. Eventually, we're going to have a mailbag show, which I'm so looking forward to because I have a feeling that we're just going to get all kinds of responses to our crazy, and I can't wait for them. So just make sure you go in there and share. And as always, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and to talk with us. And to listen to us, and we're enjoying it. So we appreciate it. So we'll see you soon.